So we're going to keep going on here with our laser engraved coffee mug. So what we've done so far in the last two videos and steps is we modeled this, and then in the last one we went ahead and rendered it to make it look somewhat photorealistic. For this one, we're going to go through how to do the artwork on here. So I'm going to change back to shaded view. And what we're going to do is we're going to flatten or unroll this, and then we're going to get it set up and get our artwork sized for how we think we want it to look. And then in the next video, we'll go through and we'll render what that would look like. So when we modeled this, we did not union our outside and our handle. And we did that intentionally because we're going to take and we're going to unroll or flatten this outside part right here. Now we could do some math, we could take the diameter, we could figure out how long it's going to be, how tall it's going to be, but Rhino will do that for us, and then we don't have to do a whole lot of drawing. So I'm going to click on this outer surface right here, and I'm going to type in unroll SRF. Okay. When I click that, it asks me a couple questions. Do I want to explode it? For this one, it doesn't matter. If this was enclosed top and bottom, then yes, we might want to do that. The other two labels and key properties, we're not worried about. And now when we do this, we want our flattened layer here to be the active layer so that it puts it on that layer for us. So select curves and poly surface to unroll. We've already got that. We hit enter and we see it creates two surfaces. Now, in reality, these are joined together. I'm not sure why it made them two separate ones, but we'll go ahead and move these together just so that we're consistent here. There we go. So this right here is what would wrap around this coffee mug. So that's the area that we have to work with in terms of putting our artwork that we're going to engrave. Now, we can't put artwork all the way around. We've got this handle here that if it ends up sticking up and the laser head hits it, we're going to have some serious damage to the laser, and that's not something that we want to do. We also, through some of our work with bottles and other things, have figured that we'd like to have our artwork stretching across about 40% of the face of our coffee mug. That way it's easy to see without having to turn it and get different views. So, a couple things we're going to do here. First, we need to figure out what 40% of this would be. The easiest way, I'm going to type distance, and I'm going to measure across the bottom here, or across the top, either way. And this says it's 10.21 inches. So I need to figure out what 40% of that is. I could pull up my phone, pull up my calculator, and do that math. Or Rhino has a calculator built in. If you just type CALC, calc, and hit enter, that pops up for us. So we can put in here 10.21. Is that 100th going to make a difference? Not really. Times 0.4 for 40%. So it means we want our artwork to stretch about 4 inches across here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a polyline. This is going to be on my guidelines layer. I'm just going to draw it down here. And then I'm going to select that one and I'm going to move it. Let's turn on ortho temporarily 4 inches out. Okay. So I have this area within here. Now, I don't want to go all the way to the edge. I don't want to go all the way to the bottom, the top. So I'm going to add some guide layers in here. Again, I'm going to do one there, and we really want to give ourselves at least 1/4 of an inch of cushion. So I'm going to go move, 0.25, enter, click, do the same thing for the top, move, pick a point, 0.25, enter, click. So within this area here is where I want to fit my artwork. When you bring your artwork in, it's going to need to be curves, or you're going to need to make it curves, and then ultimately we'll hatch it so that it engraves properly. Now, just to save some time, I went ahead and I already brought in some artwork here on my artwork layer. And so what I'm going to do is move that into that box. You can see it's a little big, so we're going to have to scale. So we'll shrink that down a little bit. We'll zoom in here and we'll get that in. And it does not necessarily have to fill up the whole box. We just know that those are our constraints. We don't want to go any higher than that, any lower than this, or much more beyond the edges there. Okay, so in reality, I think that looks pretty good. That'll be about the right size. Now I'm going to go ahead and align it. Again, you don't have to do this, but I like having things even, so it's aligned that way. And then the other thing that I'm going to do, we know that it fits within this box, so I can turn my guidelines off. And I'm going to align, whoops, join those together. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and align it on the center here. And there we go. You do notice that when I click on these, they're grouped together. Keeping your artwork grouped makes it really easy so that, you know, as we're selecting here, we can just select that, even though we've got a surface there behind it. Okay, so in a nutshell, what we do here is we do the unroll SRF around the outside of our coffee mug. We lay that flat. We draw ourselves some guidelines. We figure out what is safe distance top and bottom. For our purposes here, we set 1/4 of an inch. And then we figure out what 40% of this whole viewing area would be. And we get our artwork to fit in that area. So that's the end of this one. In the next video, we will look at how we add or flow that artwork along our coffee mug and then render it to see what it would look like.